that Willie Nelson's doing. And only a few days before he is going to headline the Farm Aid concert in its 40th anniversary show.
Willie Nelson is alive and kicking. In fact, the 84-year-old has been the victim of so many death hoaxes over the years and inspired him to write a song.
There's something different about Willie Nelson when he talks about death. No fear, no hesitation, just raw honesty that cuts through everything. At 92, this country music legend has buried more people than most of us will ever love, lost more than most people could survive, and learned lessons that would break an ordinary man. But here's what stops everyone cold. When asked about dying, Willie doesn't dance around the subject. His answer is so direct, so brutally honest, that it forces us to question everything we think we know about life and death. What could make a man who's touched millions with his music speak so openly about wanting it to end? The answer isn't what you'd expect, and it didn't happen overnight. This is the real story of Willie Nelson's journey toward accepting death.
Willie Nelson long enough, you start to look like him a little bit, even if you're slightly older than he is. Do people often mistake you for Willie?
And why his message might be the most important thing he's ever shared. The boy nobody wanted. Before Willie Nelson became a household name, he was just a scared kid in Abbott, Texas, learning that people leave. It was 1939, and Willie was only 6 years old when his mother walked out the door. She left him and his sister with their grandparents, saying she'd come back when things got better. She never did. His father? He remarried and started fresh somewhere else, like Willie and his sister were chapters in a book he'd decided to stop reading. Imagine being 6 years old and realizing that even your own parents don't want you around. That kind of rejection doesn't just hurt. It rewires how you see the entire world. Think about what that does to a child's mind. Every night, little Willie would wonder what he'd done wrong. Was he too loud? Not good enough? Too much trouble? The questions haunted him, creating a wound that would shape every relationship, every decision, every moment of his life going forward. Depression-era Texas wasn't kind to anyone, but it was especially brutal to abandoned children. Willie watched other kids get picked up by their parents after school. He saw families eating together, laughing together, staying together, and every single time, it reminded him of what he didn't have. Willie's grandparents stepped in, giving him love and his first guitar, but even their kindness couldn't answer the question that haunted him every single day. Why wasn't he worth staying for? The cotton fields became young Willie's classroom. While other kids played, he picked cotton under the brutal Texas sun. His hands would crack and bleed. His back would scream. But the work taught him something valuable. Pain doesn't kill you unless you let it. At 7, Willie wrote his first song. It wasn't fancy or polished, but it was honest. Music became the one thing that couldn't abandon him, the one companion that never walked away. On stage, people wanted him there. They clapped when he played. For those brief moments, he belonged. But those early scars, they never fully healed. Willie learned to expect disappointment, to guard his heart, to never count on anyone staying. These lessons would shape everything that came next. When dreams became nightmares. Fast forward to the 1960s. Willie had found love with Martha Matthews, had 3 kids, and was chasing his dream in Nashville. His songs were good enough that big stars like Patsy Cline were recording them. Success seemed right around the corner. But there's a brutal truth nobody tells you. Writing hit songs doesn't pay the bills when you're not the one singing them. While others got rich off his words, Willie was selling encyclopedias door to door, pumping gas, sleeping on couches, and scraping together money for groceries. Here's what broke Willie. He'd pour his heart into a song, watch it become a hit for someone else, and then come home to an empty refrigerator. The disconnect between his artistic success and his financial reality was maddening. He was successful and broke at the same time, a special kind of torture that Nashville seemed designed to inflict on struggling songwriters. Martha grew tired of the struggle. Who could blame her? She'd married a dreamer, but reality was empty cupboards and overdue bills. The fight started small, but grew into explosions. Every failed audition Willie came home to was met with resentment that had been building all day. The pressure was suffocating. Willie would watch his kids go without things they needed while knowing that somewhere, someone was making thousands off a song he wrote for pennies. The guilt ate at him. The shame was constant, and the whiskey became his only escape. Willie started drinking heavily. When the whiskey flowed, he could forget for a few hours that he was failing at everything that mattered. Martha's disappointment became a mirror reflecting back every broken promise, every missed opportunity. Then came the night Willie doesn't talk about much. It was freezing cold in Nashville, and Willie had hit absolute rock bottom. Drunk and desperate, he did something that still haunts him decades later. He laid down in the middle of the street and waited for a car to end his pain. The asphalt felt like ice against his back. Cars swerved around him. Drivers screamed. But none gave him what he was looking for. He stayed there, understanding that sometimes the most desperate acts are also the most cowardly. When he finally stumbled home, there was no comfort waiting. The marriage was already dead. Willie learned a devastating lesson that night. Even love can become a weapon. The people closest to you can inflict the deepest wounds. The Christmas day that destroyed him, December 25, 1991. While families across America unwrapped presents and shared meals, Willie's world collapsed in the most personal way imaginable. Willie Nelson, Willie's oldest son, had been fighting demons that nobody fully understood.
The year was 1991, when Willie Nelson's son, William Hugh Nelson Jr., was 33 years old. On Christmas Day, William, also known as Billy,
Being Willie Nelson's kid wasn't a blessing. It was a weight that crushed him. Everywhere Billy went, people expected him to be like his famous father. The comparisons were constant. The pressure was unbearable. What people don't realize about being a legend's child is that you're not allowed to just be yourself. You're measured against someone who's already achieved greatness, and anything less feels like failure. Billy couldn't walk into a bar without someone asking if he could sing like his dad. He couldn't pick up a guitar without people expecting magic. Depression had wrapped around Billy like chains he couldn't break. He'd inherited his father's sensitive soul, but not the ability to turn pain into art. While Willie could write songs about heartbreak and heal, Billy just felt broken. The medication wasn't working. Therapy felt pointless. The weight kept growing. Willie has said that losing Billy was the low point of his life, the one thing that made everything else pale in comparison. And you can hear it in his voice when he talks about it. There's a pain there that 30 years hasn't diminished. The family had been planning something special, a gospel album featuring father and son. Studio time was booked. Songs were chosen. For a moment, it seemed like music might bridge the gap between them. But Billy had already decided. On Christmas Day, while children squealed with joy over new toys, Willie Nelson ended his story. He was 33 years old, the same age Christ was when he died.
died by suicide in his log cabin home in Davidson County, Tennessee. His death came as a terrible shock.
That detail would torment Willie for years. The phone call came in the afternoon. Willie was getting ready for celebrations when the words hit him like a physical blow. His firstborn son, the boy who carried his name, was gone. Not from an accident, not from sickness, from a choice that Willie couldn't understand or undo. The funeral was torture. People whispered about Billy's struggles and pressure and warning signs. But Willie sat in stunned silence, replaying every conversation, every missed opportunity to say something different. Willie and his sister Bobby never really discussed Billy's death. Not the way people expected. They grew closer in their silence, understanding each other's grief without needing words. It was Willie's way. Feel everything deeply, speak rarely about what matters most. Billy's death taught Willie something terrible. Some pain doesn't make you stronger, it just makes you different. Some wounds don't heal, they become part of who you are. and sometimes understanding why someone might choose to leave is the greatest act of love. This loss, more than any other, began Willie's journey toward accepting death. If his own son could decide life's pain outweighed its promise, who was Willie to cling desperately to existence? When the IRS took everything. While Willie was drowning in grief, another disaster was building. In 1990, federal agents showed up with seizure notices. The number was staggering: $32 million in unpaid taxes. It was one of the largest individual tax bills in American history. Willie's business managers had been making bad decisions for years. Now Willie was left holding the bag for debts he didn't create and consequences he couldn't escape. The IRS showed no mercy. They took his gold records, decades of success reduced to seized property. They grabbed his piano, where countless classics were written. They seized his beloved Texas ranch. Even his personal belongings weren't safe. Willie Nelson was treated like a criminal. Everyone told Willie to declare bankruptcy. It was the smart move. But Willie refused. He said he'd never do a bankruptcy where people he owed got screwed out of their money. Instead, Willie chose the harder path. He'd pay every penny, even if it took the rest of his life. He released albums with proceeds going to the government. He auctioned off his possessions. He toured relentlessly, playing anywhere that would pay, transforming into a machine whose only purpose was chipping away at an impossible debt. The irony was crushing. The man who sang about freedom was now enslaved to the federal government. Every dollar earned went to Washington. Every concert was just another payment. By 1993, Willie had done the impossible, paid off the entire debt through sheer willpower. But the experience left permanent scars. He'd learned that everything you own can disappear overnight. Houses, awards, property, they're all temporary. The financial devastation taught Willie something crucial: losing everything doesn't kill you. It reveals what you actually need. The music remained. The ability to connect with people through song couldn't be seized. The lung battles that nearly killed him. For a man whose life revolved around his voice, Willie's relationship with his lungs became a decades-long war. The habit he loved, smoking, was systematically destroying the organs he needed to breathe. In 1981, while swimming in Hawaii, Willie's left lung collapsed. The pain was excruciating. He was rushed to the hospital struggling for air, but that was just the beginning. Years of smoking were taking their toll. Willie developed emphysema, a disease that makes every breath a struggle. The man who could sing for hours was now fighting just to walk across a room. Pneumonia struck 4 or 5 times, each bout leaving his lungs weaker. By 2015, Willie's condition was so bad that doctors recommended experimental stem cell surgery. They injected stem cells into his damaged lungs, hoping they'd regenerate destroyed tissue. The procedure forced Willie to cancel tours. Recovery was long and uncertain, but Willie's most terrifying battle came in 2022. COVID-19 found its way to Willie's tour bus. For a man with severely compromised lungs, contracting COVID was potentially a death sentence. His wife Annie sprang into action, starting every available treatment. For days, Willie's life hung in balance. His already damaged lungs were under assault from a virus targeting respiratory systems. Annie described watching Willie fight for every breath, never knowing if the next would come. Slowly, incredibly, Willie recovered. But the experience changed him profoundly. He'd come face to face with his own mortality, feeling his body shut down, his breath becoming labored, his strength ebbing away. The lung battles taught Willie something crucial. Dying isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just running out of breath. The process of dying was less frightening than he'd imagined. It was just another transition. The last highwayman. In country music, Willie Nelson now stands alone. The highwaymen, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson, once seemed invincible. Now Willie carries their memories alone. Johnny Cash fell first in 2003.
Maybe most of you know about our little baby. We've got a little baby boy, John Carter Cash.
Willie watched his friend succumb to diabetes and respiratory failure, witnessing how even giants can be brought low. Cash's final performances were painful, his voice weakened, his body failing, but his spirit bright until the end. Waylon Jennings followed in 2002. Waylon had been Willie's closest friend, a kindred spirit who understood the outlaw lifestyle. When Waylon died, Willie didn't just lose a collaborator, he lost a brother. The most recent loss came in September 2024 when Kris Kristofferson passed at 88.
Tributes are pouring in for legendary singer-songwriter Kris Kristofferson, who died yesterday at 88.
His death hit Willie hard because Kris had been the youngest, the one they all expected to outlive them. Instead, Willie found himself at another funeral. Standing at these funerals, Willie understood something profound. Being the last one left isn't a victory, it's a burden. Every death was a reminder of his own mortality, a preview of his inevitable fate. Willie's reflections on Kristofferson's death revealed how deeply these losses affected him. He spoke about how Kris left behind songs for the rest to sing for as long as we're here. That phrase carried weight. Willie knew his time was limited, but watching his friends die taught Willie about dignity in departure. Each highwayman faced death with acceptance that comes from living full lives. They didn't rage against dying. They embraced it as natural. Cash performed until his final breath. Jennings made music despite pain. Kristofferson stayed creative until the end. Being the last highwayman gave Willie unique perspective. He realized death isn't something that happens to you. It happens around you constantly until it's your turn. Fear of death is often worse than death itself. The anticipation, the dread, the clinging, these cause more suffering than the transition. Now when Willie performs, he carries his fallen comrades' voices. Every song is tribute. Every concert is remembrance. He's not just Willie Nelson, he's keeper of a legacy that will die with him. That doesn't make him sad. It makes him grateful. Why Willie isn't afraid anymore. At 92, Willie Nelson has earned something rare: complete honesty about death. His acceptance isn't from depression. It comes from a lifetime that stripped away every illusion about what matters. He's been abandoned by those who should have loved him. He's been betrayed by advisors who destroyed his finances. He's been bankrupted by a government that took everything. He's buried his son on Christmas. He's watched his body fail, fighting for every breath. Yet through all of it, he's found peace. There's something powerful about a man who stared death in the face multiple times and decided it's not worth fearing. Willie has been through more than most people could survive. Each tragedy could have been the thing that broke him permanently. But instead of breaking, he learned. Willie's revelation about not fearing death makes perfect sense. He's learned that what we cling to most, money, fame, health, even life, are temporary gifts that will be reclaimed. Fighting reality creates suffering. Accepting it brings freedom. What makes Willie different from most people facing mortality is his brutal honesty about it. He doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't pretend. When he says he's not worried about dying, you believe him because he's earned the right to say it. This isn't someone who's lived a sheltered, easy life talking about death theoretically. This is someone who's walked through actual hell and came out understanding something most of us never will. The man who once laid in a street hoping for death now faces it with calm certainty. Not because he wants to die, but because he's no longer afraid to live. When you've lost everything, what remains is unshakable. Willie's honesty about mortality isn't giving up. It's understanding that endings are as natural as beginnings. He's watched loved ones pass, and he's seen that death isn't the monster we imagine. It's simply the final verse in a 92-year song. His acceptance teaches profound courage. The bravest thing isn't fighting death. It's living fully knowing death is coming. Willie has done exactly that, creating music that will outlive him, touching lives across generations, showing that authentic life is worth celebrating beginning to end. The real reason he's ready. When Willie talks about wanting it to end, people misunderstand. He's not depressed. He's not giving up. He's practical. He's seen what happens when you fight the inevitable. He's seen peace that comes with acceptance. Every performance could be his last. Every song might be farewell. Every moment is gift. He's learned the secret most never grasp. The only way to truly live is making peace with dying. Not welcoming death, but stopping the fear. Not giving up on life, but releasing the desperate grip. Willie Nelson has walked through more darkness than most could survive, and on the other side, he found something unexpected. Freedom. The abandonment taught him nothing lasts. Billy's death taught him some pain transforms you forever. The IRS taught him possessions are meaningless. His health battles taught him bodies fail. His friends' deaths taught him endings come for everyone. But through all of it, Willie discovered the music endures. Love endures. Connections between souls endure. Everything else is just noise. Willie Nelson's message isn't about wanting to die. It's about living so fully, so authentically, that when death comes, you can greet it like an old friend. It's about understanding that clinging to life out of fear creates more suffering than death ever could. At 92, Willie Nelson has given us one final gift: permission to stop being afraid. Permission to live without the constant terror of ending. Permission to understand that accepting mortality isn't surrender. It's wisdom. The red-headed stranger has taught us his final lesson, and it might be the most important one of all. When you've truly lived, you're finally ready to let go. Willie Nelson's story isn't just about a country music legend facing his final years. It's a masterclass in how to survive when life keeps knocking you down. Most people never experience even one of the tragedies Willie has lived through, yet he survived them all and somehow found peace on the other side. The abandonment could have made him bitter and untrusting forever. Instead, it taught him self-reliance and the value of the few people who do stay. The financial ruin could have destroyed his spirit. Instead, it showed him that material possessions are just things, temporary and ultimately meaningless. Billy's death could have consumed him with guilt and grief. Instead, it taught him profound compassion for suffering and understanding about why someone might choose to leave. Here's what makes Willie's acceptance of death so powerful. It's not resignation. It's wisdom earned through decades of actual living. He's not giving up on life. He's celebrating it by refusing to fear its end. Every concert he plays now is a gift, not an obligation. Every breath he takes is appreciated, not taken for granted. Willie once said that we're all pretty much the same, and what makes him laugh or cry will make everyone else laugh or cry too. That simple observation reveals something profound. We all face the same fundamental challenges. We all lose people we love. We all experience failure and pain. We all march toward the same inevitable ending. The difference is that most of us spend our lives running from that reality, while Willie has learned to walk alongside it. He's made death a companion rather than an enemy, and in doing so, he's discovered a freedom that most people never find. Subscribe the channel to get more insightful content like this.